This is about the difference between joy and work. This is a break from my normal routine as I'm going to rant in the positive about something. Shock fucking horror. What's the matter, Eddie? Have you gone mad? Well, the answer to that question isn't quite straightforward. That would be assuming that I wasn't president of the UK Basket Weavers Association to begin with. Sorry, Americans, that meant I might have been somewhat mental to begin with, so going mad is a very loose term. Well, what do I mean by joy and work? Well, I was perusing the internet the other day in an attempt to pacify my racing, noisy mind when I came across an episode of PKA. Episode 148 to be exact. This episode ticked all the relevant boxes for me. Entertaining banter between a group of close friends is always funny to me, and as I have no real friends, I find that an adequate replacement. Look at how all the not-me's enjoy each other's company. How droll. Igor, we must try again. I was in fact treated to a proper old-school nerd convo. They started talking about Call of Duty, the way people used to. They regaled stories of their own prowess and failings in a way I found comforting and pleasing. Nobody talks like that anymore. It's all cliques and social media beefs nowadays. As far as I'm concerned, all that shit can be fucking dragged out of its home in the middle of the night, forced to dig its own grave after fighting through the tears of the shame of soiling itself before being shot once in the back of the head with a silver bullet and buried anonymously where nobody will ever think to find the body. You could say I'm not fond of it. No, they just talked about what they liked and what they didn't like. It was fucking great. One person stood out to me and that was Wings. I mean no harm when I say I like him a lot despite being in almost complete opposition to him most of the time. His brain just works differently to mine. And now, after all the foreplay, we come to the point where I stick it in. Wings made a sound case for what he finds fun in games. Outsmarting people. He likes to limit people's games and outmaneuver them mentally and physically until he has beaten them not only in result but in resolve. Total victory. That really made me think. Wings likes to use his mind. He likes the thought of it. The care and the tactical advantages he seeks require deep thought and more than a little intelligence. Make no mistake, he is a smart man. All of that, however, sounds like death to me. I have an active mind. It's constantly talking, not in a mental I hear voices kind of way, but more in a racing hyper-thought kind of way that never quite stops. It's exhausting but has given me many advantages, so I can't complain. I'm a creative person and have worked as a professional designer for most of my post-college years. It's an advantage in conversation and debate and has on more than one occasion had the power to impress, shock horror, a lady or two. But I'd be lying if it hasn't contributed to some of the problems I have lived through. Many of you will know that I have suffered from depression. I fight it by staying productive and working as much as I can. I'm much better and happier than I was a few years ago, and that's partly down to my difference to Wings. I don't like to think when I'm playing Call of Duty. I love being able to turn my mind off and live in the purest reactionary moment that is the next gunfight. I could care less for tactics. I rely on my gun skill and I'm totally happy with that. It gives me joy and doesn't turn Call of Duty into work.